And
So you must be very tired now.
well, I was really sweating. This is the hottest day of the year.
Yeah.
It's 95 degrees outside. I was playing, rehearsing on my friend's porch. I was dripping with sweat. But now I'm feeling okay.
So should we make the video off now, or Takagi-san?
Yes. Please
Okay.
wait, video off and mic off.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, later.
All right.
Dan-san, please video off. Waiting, please. Dan-san, can you hear me? Please wait, video off. Video off. Now your video on. Video off, please. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your participation in the Global Digicon Salon. Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, passed away on October 5th, 2011, US time. Today is the 12th anniversary of his death. Over the past 12 years, many new facts have come to light. Jobs and Apple were greatly influenced by Japanese culture and Zen. So we would like to look back on Jobs' life from the perspective of with Daniel Kotoke-san, Dan-san, Nobuyuki Hayashi-san, Nobi-san, and Shoten Kohira, Sho-san. First, I will introduce about Dan-san. Dan-san became friends with Jobs at Reed College, traveled to India together, attended Hike Zendo, hosted by Zen monk Kobuchino, and joined Apple as the 12th employees, worked on the development of Macintosh. Dan-san's signature was on the inside of the first Macintosh. Here it is. Hi, everyone. Can you understand how deeply involved Dan-san was with Jobs and Apple? Okay, now I would like to ask you, Nobi-san and Sho-san, please briefly introduce yourself and tell us what you think about the relationship between Jobs, Apple, and Japanese culture Zen.
And
Hi, Nobi-san, please.
maybe Kohira. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe Kohira-san should start, or
Okay.
go ahead.
All right.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Naonori Kohira. Shoten is we are talking about this times. I'm so happy to Zen and Jobs. So my photograph back is Eiheiji. So Eiheiji is not never coming to Jobs, but Jobs won't visited in Eiheiji. But so this time I have a little bit in the Jobs trip, because I have a trip to in the from Kyoto to Eiheiji. And then before I have some shooting to Steve Brandt. Do you know that? He speak to Stay Hungry, Stay Fish. He's making to Horace catalog. So many jobs and like his mind. Are one of them mindfulness and mindset. So I have a shooting before shooting Steve Jobs and first shooting to 1987 August 12th. This is started to next computer presentation in San Francisco, like this. I'm so happy to he's exciting to new world, he said. So, and then just say hello and introduce to my friend in the Paul Sappho. Just a joke in the, okay, beer is T-shirts. Okay, I'm Armani. But so I'm surprised with Jobs and in Armani and the sneaker, because active walking in the sneaker is best. Like that's a funny story. And then so I have some people to start like this Bill Gates. This is for started to 1987, July 23rd. I have an interview to Bill Gates with Son Masayoshi, Mr. Son. Because Son want to meet to Bill Gates, and then look at this. This is a before this one. This one is a tape recorder. Son tape recorder. Also, this is back is a Macintosh. Maybe this one Macintosh too. This is a Bill Gates is a most likely Macintosh. So, and then little bit I have introduced to another guy. So this is a Douglas Engelbart. Mr. Takagi-san most introduced to Douglas Engelbart about split or mind or all they speak to. Also, this is Alan Kay. Almost his good concept, dynamic book. He's a Steve Wozniak. And then this time I'm special to a trip to Kyoto. Started this is a Kamogawa. Some talking about Jobs is like to Kamogawa because Kamogawa is a mainframe in Kyoto. Also, anytime want to Kiyomizu-dera, and then walking. Also, this is for I forget the name to a special waterland. Yeah. Also, Kiyomizu-dera, and by walking to Rokunotsuji, this is a very deep bar, deep plant. Also, this is a Kenninji. Jobs like to Kenninji do this garden. This one. He is anytime coming to. Also this one. And then a small world. Also, he is stayed Tawaraya. This is a good ryokan. And then Tawaraya owner lecture to a good sobaya. This one. And then he most likely this one. I'm so surprised. Sobamaki. Anytime want to. So because of course I have eaten sobamaki. This is the name of the sobaya name is Kawaraya. Is a good taste. And then by walking to in the some manju, he like to simple manju to and the mochi or manju, and then he's walking to eat to mochi, and then this one is a Ryu-anji. Ryu-anji is a maybe he most likely garden. This is for artificial garden. Also, this one is maybe he stay to 12 hour. What kind of think about? I don't know, but he relax and then so also this is a spring. This is a JR commercial pamphlet, and then this is nice because he's a paradise garden, he said. And then last one. This is a very wonder the garden. This is a ginkakuji. Jobs like to ginkakuji. Very simple. Also, kinkakuji is a very academic, but ginkakuji is very good. So, and then this is a Eiheiji is again point. Also, Chinokobun from Eiheiji, and then maybe Jobs won good Zen mind and expert, and then good friend. So Jobs is product very make to insight to Zen mind. Because we are very happy to Japanese mind in the Japanese concept or insight to technology. He said art by technology by liberal arts, almost inside in Japan. I think so. This trip to maybe next time every people want to Kyoto to Eiheiji. So tonight I went to I go to in the Eiheiji talking about tomorrow is a reception. I'm so happy. I'm very sorry explain to so quick, and then so happy to this time talking about time, and thank you so much Takagi-san and the Dan-san.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Okay. Next, Hayashi-san, Nobi-san, please.
Yes. Sorry, perhaps I am the most unprepared person today. Actually, Kohira-san made my day. He had so much recommendation for Kyoto, and perhaps I will go there, this afternoon. I'm in Kyoto right now, and I don't have many slides to show to you, but for those who don't know me, my name is Nobuyuki Hayashi, Nobi for short, and I've been covering the tech industry since 1990 professionally. But before that, as a high school and junior high school student, I've been attending events, where Apple was in Japan was presenting, and maybe Dan-san doesn't know this particular model of Macintosh, but when Canon, a Japanese company distributor, announced Dynamac, which is a Japanese modified version of the Macintosh, I was still a high school student, but somehow I was invited to the official launch of the event, the Dynamac, and I was there. And after 1990, I was writing for like dozens of Japanese computer publications, including ASCII, Mac Power. Unfortunately, I haven't written any article for Mac Life, which is the magazine Takagi-san was editing. But how to say? I've been covering the tech industry for more than 30 years. But what made me so different from other technology journalists is most of the other technology journalists only covers technology. But since I've been covering Apple, I had many chance to talk with like industrial designer, product designers, or some anthropologists or other people. So I think Apple gave me so many different perspectives, which you wouldn't get from other computer manufacturers. And I think those philosophy or culture Steve Jobs put behind every Apple product made such a big difference for me. And thanks to that, recently I've been judged for Good Design Award, which is the design award, which has been running for more than 50 years. And I also was one of the director for James Dyson Foundation, which is run by Dyson, a UK company. And Kohira-san also showed, show some of the famous people here. But so covering the tech industry for more than 30 years, I had an honor to meet many famous figures, including Douglas Engelbart, or Larry Page, or Mark Zuckerberg, or and or Tim Cook, and Jack Dorsey, and in the bottom, there are many Japanese, entrepreneurs. But with all these experience, I've written a few books about Steve Jobs. One of them is called "What is the Legacy of Steve Jobs?" And the subtitle of this, I really like the subtitle of this book on the left. It says パソコンを生み進化させ葬った男. So the subtitle says Steve Jobs, the person who invented the personal computer, and who also happens to be the person who evolved the personal computer, and who also buried personal computer, by something like smartphone, iPhone. And on the right side, there's Steve Jobs, the greatest creative director. And also another book was published by Seishun Shippan. It's called Jobs は何も発明せず全てを生み出した. Jobs didn't invent anything, but he created everything. Anyway, so through this experience, I've been I think my mission, because of the luck I had with Apple, the long relationship I had with Apple, I think Apple is one of a kind company which can inspire, which inspire people, how a corporation should be run, and how to make not just product, but make difference in our lives. And that's what I've been writing through all my books. And one of the pieces I've written about Steve Jobs is this piece called Steve Jobs in Japan. It's on a website called nippon.com. It's been translated into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 languages. And it's been running, it's been somewhat popular. So maybe if you have time later, you could read this article. But yeah, so well, perhaps this is all I have to say right now. I think Dan Kotke-san and Kohira-san is the main person today. So
Yeah, okay.
I perhaps should be on the interviewer side, with Takagi-san, and
Okay.
do the
Thank you,
follow-up.
Nobu-san. I
Yeah.
researched
Sorry.
my slide. Okay. And please come in, Dan-san, video mic on. I will ask you and continue my presentation. Okay. Dan-san was portrayed as an important character in the movie Jobs, starring Ashton Kutcher. In the movie, when Jobs walked barefoot on the campus at Reed College, Dan-san asked you, Jobs, did you read Be Here Now, the Bible Spiritual Sword?
Now I've been thinking about the good things that come.
Get up, man. Wake up.
It could be something good has begun. Oh, I've been smiling lately, thinking about the world at one. And I believe it could be someday it's going to come. 'Cause out on the edge of darkness, there rides a peace train. Oh, peace train, take this country, come take me home again. I've been smiling lately.
Hey, Daniel.
Hey, what's going on? Oh, are you reading Fear now?
It is.
I'm reading that right now. It's unbelievable.
Next one. Hey, speaking of fear, what happened to you last night? Where'd you go?
I understudied.
I know. And yeah, I'm not dismissing the value of higher education. I'm simply saying it comes at the expense of experience. The system can only produce a system. I don't want to be a part of that. You should be.
I agree with you. It takes balls to drop out like you did.
It's like you should.
I mean,
Steven, might I borrow you for a moment?
I see you.
Thanks. I hope I'm not interrupting.
Hi, Dan-san. Please give us your comments on this scene.
Hello. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Hi.
we
How you
can.
doing? Hi.
It's nice to see that again. I
Okay.
think Ashton Kutcher did a good job capturing the look. Although the scene looks like Columbia College,
Oh, yeah.
not Reed College. Reed College doesn't have stairways.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, I met Steve in the first few weeks, and then a few more weeks went by, and I found this book, Be Here Now, at the college bookstore. And it was so unusual. That's the
Oh.
that's the book.
Great.
And you'll notice it says $6.66. But when I bought it, it was $3.33. It was in my budget. And it was such a remarkable book. I was really carrying it around campus, and I would talk to anyone who wanted to look at it. And Steve, of all the people I knew, was the most interested. And that was the beginning of our friendship.
Okay, thank you.
Then, not many weeks later, I was going around asking people what to read next. And this is what people recommended.
Oh, yeah.
Autobiography of a Yogi, which is very readable, but full of fantastic stories. It's a very different book. And Steve and I both were young scientists, and we thought, what is going on in India? Are these stories real, or are they just made up?
Yeah.
So that was, and at the same time, Carlos Castaneda was coming out with his books about Don Juan and the Yaqui way of knowledge. And it all seemed kind of unbelievable. That was the basis of my friendship with Steve.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how I became friends with Steve.
Yeah.
Yes. Not so much music.
But you said that Jobs has a big TIAC tape recorder deck.
Yes. And I never saw it again. I bet he sold it.
Yeah.
But the interesting story, so Steve, as a freshman in college, he had this multi-$1,000 reel-to-reel professional tape deck in his dorm room. That was the only thing he had. He was already interested in impressing people with cool technology, obviously. And he was proud that he had many, many hours of Bob Dylan bootleg music on his reel-to-reel, which I didn't really listen to. But many years later, I found out that it was Steve Wozniak, who lived in Berkeley, who knew where to go get all the bootleg Bob Dylan. So it was really Steve and Wozniak's contribution.
Yeah. Okay, and next I'd like to talk about calligraphy.
Yes.
Look at this thing.
Calligraphy is the artful and visual expression of communication. Take Gehrman, for example, a typeface specifically designed to make the very act of reading more natural.
Okay, and you attended this class, calligraphy?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the person who told Steve that he should take the class also.
Mm-hmm. I see.
And calligraphy was a special practice at Reed College because Robert Palladino, who taught the class, was so wonderful.
Yeah.
And so Reed College, all the college announcements, the posters that you would see around campus were all done in calligraphy by hand. It was a very special thing.
Okay, and about this calligraphy, as Steve Jobs talked in the speech, 2005 commencement speech at Stanford University.
Thank you. I'm honored to be with you today for your commencement from one of the finest universities in the world. Truth be told, I never graduated from college, and this is the closest I've ever gotten to a college graduation. Today, I want to tell you 3 stories from my life. That's it. No big deal. Just 3 stories. The first story is about connecting the dots. I dropped out of Reed College after the first 6 months, but then stayed around as a drop-in for another 18 months or so before I really quit. So why'd I drop out? It started before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed graduate student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates, so everything was all set for me to be adopted at birth by a lawyer and his wife. Except that when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a girl. So my parents, who were on a waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We've got an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said, "Of course." My biological mother found out later that my mother had never graduated from college and that my father had never graduated from high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers. She only relented a few months later when my parents promised that I would go to college. This was the start in my life. And 17 years later, I did go to college. But I naively chose a college that was almost as expensive as Stanford. And all of my working class parents' savings were being spent on my college tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life and no idea how college was going to help me figure it out. And here I was, spending all of the money my parents had saved their entire life. So I decided to drop out and trust that it would all work out okay. It was pretty scary at the time, but looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required classes that didn't interest me and begin dropping in on the ones that looked far more interesting. It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposits to buy food with. And I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple. I loved it. And much of what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless later on. Let me give you one example. Reed College at that time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Throughout the campus, every poster, every label on every drawer was beautifully hand calligraphed. Because I had dropped out and didn't have to take the normal classes, I decided to take a calligraphy class to learn how to do this. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations, about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. None of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life. But 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me. And we designed it all into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautiful typography. If I had never dropped in on that single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them. If I had never dropped out, I would have never dropped in on that calligraphy class, and personal computers might not have the wonderful typography that they do. Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever, because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference.
Hi, Dan-san. Please give us your comments of this job speech, connecting dots.
Great speech. I found out years later it was Michael Hawley who mostly wrote it. But anyway, I think it was not fair what Steve said about, okay, so the fonts on the Macintosh, you have to credit Adobe. John Warnock, who just passed away, founder of Adobe, he was the creator of PostScript, which was the graphical description language. Now, we didn't use PostScript on the screen of the Macintosh. That was not the hard part. The hard part is preparing text to print on a laser printer. That's where PostScript was necessary. That's my thoughts about that. Anyway, you know, I was just remembering that at the calligraphy class at Reed, every student had to do a book project where they had to take a passage from something and write the whole thing in calligraphy and create a small book. I wrote the Sermon on the Mount from the Bible, and I gave it to my parents who were religious. I thought they would like it. I wonder if Steve ever did that, because I never heard, I knew he took the calligraphy class, but I don't know that he created the book as a project. Anyway, it's true enough that appreciating calligraphy definitely had something to contribute to the graphical user interface of the Macintosh.
Thank you.
If I may interrupt, so he was talking about, sleeping on friend's room, but was it your room, or how many friends did he have back then? Because he looks like, very difficult person to hang out with.
No. He was easy to hang out with, but he didn't have that many friends. He wasn't that outgoing. The depiction of Ashton Kutcher in the movie was not bad, but at the time, Steve's hair came down to here. He had very long hair, and he had no mustache. Anyway, wait, what was the question?
I was wondering, how many
sleeping.
Friends?
No.
Sleeping,
Steve could have slept but our dorm rooms were tiny. He rented a room above a garage close to campus. I used to visit him at his room, but mostly he would be on campus, and that's how I saw him.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
And next, Dan-san, your interview. Unfortunately, this is translated to Japanese.
He felt that
彼
his
は
mother had
生みの親に捨てられたことにずっと苦しみ続けていました。
Can you remember this interview?
No.
Oh, you said that Jobs was irritated to be abandoned by his parents. Okay, and Jobs is also said it was, and it is also said that it was Robert Friedman who encouraged Jobs and you to go to the Hindu Hare Krishna temple and trip to India. I'll ask you, Dan-san, was it true?
True about the trip to India. There were Hare Krishna devotees on campus at Reed. So
okay.
Robert did not, in fact, Robert never came to the Hare Krishna temple that I remember.
Oh, yeah, I see. Okay.
He was a few years older than us. He was busy. He was a Rhodes Scholar. He was the school president.
Yeah. Okay.
He was busy. Steve and I talked with the Hare Krishna devotees, probably because of this book.
Oh, yeah.
But it was all the way across town. So it would take 45 minutes for us to hitchhike there.
Hitchhike.
We didn't have cars, or even I had a bicycle. Steve didn't even have a bicycle. So we would hitchhike there on Sunday nights. Okay. And that was another part of our friendship.
Okay. How about left side photo? Is a Hare Krishna temple photo?
That looks like it, yes.
The next right, this photo is Jobs Center. And in this photo, your girlfriend here?
That's right.
Yeah. Your girlfriend,
so on the left was Koshal, who was the Reed undergraduate, but he dropped out also. Next is Elizabeth. She was my girlfriend. In the middle is Steve. Next is Greg Calhoun, who actually was in a bagpipe class with me at Reed. Yeah. Greg and I both learned to play bagpipes. And on the right is Uma, who is Robert Friedland's little baby daughter. And that picture was taken at the Alwyn farm, where Steve and I were fasting on apples and harvesting apples.
Yeah. Okay. And in the movie Jaws, like this.
It is not who you were at birth that matters, but what you do with the time you are given. The moment of your death is fixed. Life is but a journey to serenity, to its completion.
Be as simple as you can be. You'll be astonished to see how uncomplicated and happy your life can become. I don't even know what I'm going to do when I go back home. What about you? What are you going to do when you get back to the valley? Steve.
Okay. In the movie Jaws, the trip to India was described like this. But what is that? You and Jaws skinhead and wore khaki wear. Is that right?
Well, let me just say first, I'm trying to remember the name of the director of that film. I think his name was Stern. he did a good job with that scene. It was good with the Bach and the collage of videos. Yes, both Steve and I had long hair when we went to India and we got it shaved. So we were skinheads.
Yeah.
And we wore khadi. The word is not khaki, but khadi, K-H-A-D-I. That is the cotton fabric that Mahatma Gandhi said India should rely on their khadi and everybody can make their own.
Okay.
That was a very empowering message from Gandhi.
Okay. See. And next, after failing to find the guru, he was looking for the trip to India. Job returned to Los Altos, a parent's home, and found that there was a haiku zendo nearby, where Kobuncino hosted.
Yes.
And this picture is left hand side is haiku zendo's garage, and center is Shunryu Suzuki and Marion Derby and dog, and right the book of Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. Okay, and this the person who created the haiku zendo was Marion Derby, who was practicing with some students, and the Zen monk Shunryu Suzuki renovated her garage, published Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, a collection of Shunryu Suzuki's dictations. Jobs found Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind in the Reed College Library and was fascinated by the book. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, I had one more comment on the last question.
Yeah.
I think that even when Steve was a freshman, he knew that he was going to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know that, but because he had been an entrepreneur with Steve Wozniak the previous year building blue boxes, Steve already was thinking like an entrepreneur, and he never talked about that to me. Never once. He never talked about blue boxes. They were illegal, but it was not until years later that I thought, wait a minute, that was before I even knew him. How come he never talked about it? Another mystery.
Okay. See. And it was just a fate that the haiku zendo created for Shunryu Suzuki was located near Job's home. Unfortunately, Shunryu Suzuki passed away in 1971, so Jobs couldn't meet him, but Jobs met Corbuncino, a Zen monk who became his lifelong mentor. This is a Google map from Jobs' home to haiku zendo. It will take about 1 hour by car. That's right. Not so long. Okay. It was just the 5 phases of haiku zendo created by and now there's a valuable video that shows how much of an influence Corbuncino Zen had on Job's life. In the winter of 1992, at a cabin deep in snowy mountain at Australia, Corbin talks about his memories of Jobs. One night, Jobs came to him and said, "I feel I'm enlightened." So Corbin said, "Please show me proof of your enlightenment." A week later, he brought a computer board and said, "This is a proof of enlightenment."
This dear friend, adopted son of Paul, is a very strange person. When I was living in California 23 years ago, My son was about coming, so wife was pregnant, big, and answered the doorbell, and here he is, midnight, bare feet, dirty bare feet, bushy hair, long hair, jeans were many holes everywhere, and wanted to see me. So still 18 years old he was. My wife was so upset. Strange person came, please ask. I was still up in my study. Right, so I went. Wife said, "Get him away, please." You have too many strange people. I looked into his eyes and look terrible, but he's not crazy. I must talk with him. And then I my jacket on and took him for a walk, midnight walk to the downtown of Los Altos. I looked to the all stores closed. One bar called Teacup was open, so we sat on the counter, and I had Irish coffee and he had juice, shaved head and robe on it. And next is such a person. Everybody look at us and what he said is, I feel I'm enlightened. I don't know what to do with this. After sipping tea, he started talk like that. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, that is very wonderful. I need a proof of it. If you show me proof of it, not how you appear. I need a proof of it. And he was a little stuck, cannot explain, because it's still going on, I think. Week later, he came back with a little metal sheet in his hand. Again, the bare feet. I said, "Aren't you hungry?" I didn't know what it was. "Aren't you hungry?" "Yes, I am hungry." I mean, my wife is not here, fortunately. Until a few days before delivery, my wife worked in hospital as nurse. She's a work maniac. Big head, big belly, and goes around Stanford Hospital. It was a night shift. Night shift. And that was the proof that little thing was the proof. And it was a chip of personal computer. I thought it was a first I thought it's a chocolate or something. Many things are going. While I was going around, he said, I designed it. My friend also helped me. This is called Lisa. Lisa. I named it Lisa, which is the name of his daughter, newborn daughter. That was the origin of Apple computer, and I'm still not quite sure that was a true proof or not.
There are some things wrong and cannot be considered by common sense in the story of Cappuccino. Dan-san, Nobi-san, and Sho-san, how do you think about this story? Please give us your comment. Dan-san, first.
Sorry, my connection dropped.
Okay.
You know what? This is the hottest day of the year here in California, which is when the power grid gets overloaded. And I think it was a dropout of it was a brownout. Anyway, you know, it has never occurred to me before, but Steve valued Kobun's wisdom so much. How come Kobun didn't tell him how stupid it was to deny that Lisa was his daughter? What's that all about?
Yeah.
I never had another discussion with Kobun before he died. I would have asked him that. Kobun was a wise man. He would have said, don't deny your daughter. Come on, be a man.
Okay. So, Lisa, be here. And Nobi-san, how about you? Please give us your comment.
Well, and I think, well, maybe it was enlightenment for him somehow, you know, and actually, you know, thinking about what he had accomplished after, making the first computer, logic board, that was certainly, some sort of, enlightenment for him. So even though, Kobun Chino didn't understand, how it would be an enlightenment, it was for him, I think. But if I may ask Dan-san, in the history of Steve Jobs, there are so many Zen institutions, I hear so many stories about, many different Zen institutions, including, like San Francisco Zen Center. How are they related? How many Zen, back then, how many Zen, institutions were there in, your area, in Bay Area?
Well, it's only the Zen in the Bay Area. It's only the Zen Center. The Zen Center had the Zendo in Los Altos, but also Tassajara, which Steve and I went to several times. It was a big expedition. Then there was the Green Gulch Zen Center in Marin, and Steve and I went there a couple of times. Also, we had a friend who lived there. But besides Zen, there were many organizations at the time of a spiritual interest. including Mayor Baba and Gurdjieff and Dhafri John and Muktananda and Swami and Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and Yogi Bhajan. All of those were in the mix. Steve and I went to many meetings of different groups. My girlfriend Elizabeth joined the Dhafri John cult. You could call it a cult. And not the best of a reputation. Steve and I drove down to Los Angeles to hear Krishnamurti, who was another popular teacher. We didn't meet him personally, but we enjoyed hearing his talk. Anyway.
So although sorry, go ahead, please.
No, I was done.
Oh, okay, yeah. So although Steve was following Chino Coburn, he was not, not the only teacher of Zen for him. He met a lot of people, he has been to many institutions, and after all, he selected Chino Coburn. But he actually, Steve and you have visited so many temples and met so many people who's teaching Zen.
Yes, but Steve had a special relationship with Coburn. Coburn was a mentor to Steve in many ways. And I remember long before the Apple II, when it was just the Apple I, Steve was asking Coburn whether it was okay to get immersed in business. Because in the world of Zen, you're supposed to carry water and chop wood and not get too attached to what you're doing. And Steve got very attached to Apple. Fair to say that. He was very involved. I don't know if Coburn ever criticized him for that. Maybe not.
If I may ask one more question, is it okay, Takagi-san?
Absolutely.
Okay. So about 10 years ago, I visited a temple called Jikoji, which Chino Coburn has started. Do you know? Have you actually been?
Yes, I've been there.
Okay. So has Steve also been there, or what's the timeline? Has Steve Jobs also visited Jikoji? Because I asked Steve Wonk there, but he wasn't sure. He was too young, and he know the relationship between Chino Coburn and Steve Jobs, but he wasn't sure if Steve had a chance to visit Jikoji.
I'm completely certain he went there. I first heard about Jikoji, I think, from Chris-Ann, who was the mother of Lisa. She went there in the 80s. I'm not sure when Jikoji started. And I didn't go there myself till just a few years ago. I didn't know about it long ago. I'm sure Steve went there many times.
Thanks. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, let me continue. First, the thing that couldn't be considered by common sense was that Jobs wrote the Apple I board and said that I built it. And it was proof of enlightenment because it was Wozniak who created the Apple I board, not Jobs, right?
That's right.
Yeah. The second, the time when Jobs wrote the Apple I board and his age at the time were wrong. It was around April 1976 that Wozniak built 50 Apple I boards and Jobs sold them. That was 16 years ago from 1992. And Jobs was 24 years old at the time.
That sounds right.
Yes. It is also incorrect that Jobs named the board Lisa, the name of his newborn child. And the Lisa is the origin, that Lisa is not the origin of Apple. Apple's origin was the Apple I.
Right.
Apple 1 was the origin of Apple 1, and then Apple 2 and Apple 3 were released, and Lisa was released in 1983, 7 years after 1976 in the story. That's right, Dan-san?
Yes, although Lisa was born in 1978.
Oh, yeah.
And the Lisa project started the next year in 1979.
I see. That's
And
right.
Steve did name it the Lisa.
Yes. But he named the machine Lisa. That's right?
Yes.
Okay.
But then the engineers kicked him out because he was too critical of what they were doing.
Okay. Although Cobuncino's testimony had many mistakes and things that cannot be considered by common sense, it still had profound implication for the subsequent development of Jobs and Apple. In short, Jobs' life was a practice of enlightenment, and it is highly likely that each of Apple's products, services, and the company itself were proof of enlightenment. For example, look at Jobs' most famous photo. Jobs was in the official Zazen pose, Shikantaza, with Macintosh resting on his crossed legs. It's like saying, look, I created a personal computer called the Macintosh as proof of Zen's enlightenment. Okay? First of all, what does enlightenment mean? If you search Google, you will find that enlightenment is to understand, to realize. And especially in Buddhism, enlightenment is to be freed from the delusions of the mind and grasp the truth.
Good.
What did enlightenment mean to Jobs? There was Jobs' testimony which was valuable to understand this. A man is a tool maker, and tools amplify our abilities. Dan-san, having something, your comment?
I think, okay, so Steve is the person who found the book Cosmic Consciousness, which talks about enlightenment, although it uses the word cosmic consciousness, but it's the same thing. And that was a very important book for Steve and me also. And however, with respect to computers, it makes more sense to compare Steve to Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. Now, do people say that Thomas Edison was enlightened? No, they don't. Do they say that Henry Ford was enlightened? No, they don't. However, both of them grasped a huge commercial technological opportunity and ran with it. So did Steve.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we want to talk about the word enlightenment, I think an enlightened person would not deny that they were the father of a particular child, if it was true.
Yeah. Okay.
On the other hand, Steve had many advanced qualities.
Yeah. Okay.
And he knew the word enlightenment, and he aspired to it.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So let me continue. In 1980, Jobs quoted an article published in Scientific American. The condor can move most efficiently, but a human on a bicycle surpasses it. A man is a tool maker, and tools amplify our abilities.
The best analogy I've ever heard is Scientific American, I think it was, did a study in the early 70s on the efficiency of locomotion. And that's what they did. was for all different species of things on the planet, birds and cats and dogs and fish and man and goats and stuff. They measured how much energy does it take for a goat to get from here to there, right? Kilocalories per kilometer or something, I don't know what they measured it in. And they ranked them, they published a list, and the condor won. The condor took the least amount of energy to get from here to there. And man didn't do so well, came in with a rather unimpressive showing about a third of the way down the list. But fortunately, someone at Scientific American was insightful enough to test man with a bicycle. And man with a bicycle won, twice as good as the condor, all the way off the list. And what it showed was that man as a tool maker has the ability to make a tool to amplify an inherent ability that he has. And that's exactly what we're doing here. It's exactly what we're doing here.
Okay. At this time,
Wait, here's the question. Did the person who invented the bicycle, was he enlightened? No.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. Okay. In 1995, Jobs repeated the same words. The condor can move most efficiently, but a human on the bicycle surpasses it. Humans are tools builders, and we build tools that can dramatically amplify our innate human abilities.
I was keen to know about Steve's passion. What drove him?
I read an article when I was very young in Scientific American, and it measured the efficiency of locomotion for various species on the planet. So for, bears and chimpanzees and raccoons and birds and fish, how many kilocalories per kilometer did they spend to move? And humans were measured too. And the condor won. It was the most efficient. And mankind, the crown of creation, came in with a rather unimpressive showing about a third of the way down the list. But somebody there had the brilliance to test a human riding a bicycle. Blew away the condor, all the way off the charts. And I remember this really had an impact on me. I really remember this, that humans are tool builders. And we build tools that can dramatically amplify our innate human abilities. And to me, we actually ran an ad like this very early at Apple, that the personal computer was the bicycle of the mind. And I believe that with every bone in my body, that of all the inventions of humans, the computer is going to rank near, if not at the top, as history unfolds and we look back. And it is the most awesome tool that we have ever invented. And I feel incredibly lucky to be at exactly the right place in Silicon Valley, at exactly the right time historically, where this invention has taken form. And as you know, when you set a vector off in space, if you can change its direction a little bit at the beginning, it's dramatic when it gets a few miles out in space. I feel we are still really at the beginning of that vector. And if we can nudge it in the right directions, it will be a much better thing as it progresses on. And I look, I think we've had a chance to do that a few times. And it brings, I think, all of us associated with it tremendous satisfaction.
Dan-san, Nobi-san, and Sho-san, Jobs was deeply troubled by the questions. I was abandoned by my parents. Why? And he awared his enlightenment. Humans are tool builders, and my mission would be make those tools and amplify human abilities. How do you think, Dan-san?
Not so much to that question, but I would comment let's see. Now I lost my train of thought. In the video just now, he was talking about how he felt incredibly lucky to be at the right place and the right time.
That's right.
To create computers. Yeah. And I never remembered hearing that before, but it's very true. He was incredibly lucky, and Woz was incredibly lucky. I was incredibly lucky to to know them.
You're lucky. You don't be unlucky, not.
And we're all lucky right now to be
Okay,
using Zoom and have this meeting across continents.
Okay.
Anyway, but the other thought that I'm having right now is that AI is not a computer. It's a room full of computers creating something new that never could happen on a single computer. And that's what's happening right now. It's like the personal computer revolution happening all over again. And there will be a whole new class of successful companies and successful people building the new AI. So I'm involved with 3 startups now doing AI.
Yeah.
And I had a meeting this morning.
Yeah.
With a guy who's building hardware, not software. Right? We hear all about large language models, but NVIDIA is making all the hardware. Well, this guy is saying, actually, NVIDIA is good at certain things, but there's new hardware that we need. And Apple is doing great with their M1 and M2 chips. And, but it's a new thing. It's not one computer, it's a giant cluster of computers. So that's the moment we're in right now. It's very exciting.
Okay. How about Nobi-san? This comment.
Oh, actually, Sho-san should talk. He has been waiting.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
Sorry.
No.
So, one more thing to if Jobs and arrive now, and then what's happened to remake to in this AI? Dan-san.
I missed part of what you said.
Yeah, if your Jobs in arrive in now, right now, his Jobs in arrive, and then what happened to connected to AI? To
what
Jobs.
would Jobs do with AI?
Do the AI.
Oh, well, Apple is spending millions of dollars a day on their AI. It just hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah.
He would understand perfectly well how revolutionary it is. He would be plunging into it.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Okay.
Going back to going back to the original question of Takagi-san, I believe Steve Jobs wanted to make huge impact. He didn't just want to make a product which is one generation only, but he wanted to make big influence over people. And in order to do that, the best way is to be a tool builder. And I think that's the reason he went for making tools. There's a very famous saying by Marshall McLuhan, if you know him. He says, we shape tools and then tools make us. And the tools, Steve has made, is doing that, like including iPhone, Mac, everything. And even AI, or web browser came out of, the tools Steve made. So I think he was very successful. And if we see, Steve's invention that way, we can say, he was certainly enlightened as well.
Yeah. Okay. Enlightenment. Okay.
Sorry.
Throughout his life, Jobs practiced the enlightenment truth of creating tools that amplify human ability. And then, from the karma field, glaring young person, he gradually became like a Zen monk who had become enlightened, then disappeared. Okay?
I like that. That's good.
Yeah. Jobs' final work was Apple's new building, Apple Park. Why is Apple Park circular? It is also thought to represent Enso in Zen. That is enlightenment, truth, infinity, and the entire universe. Look at Wikipedia for Zen monk, Shunryu Suzuki. 年高というwrong. Shunryu Suzuki. here, circle, okay? So, so far, we have been thinking about the influence of them on jobs. Next, we would like to think a little more broadly about the influence of Japanese culture on jobs. In 2020, NHK News 9 reported that Jobs had a collection of Japanese shinhanga.
iPod や iPhone といった革新的な製品を次々に世に送り出してきたアップルの共同創設者スティーブ・ジョブズ氏。そのジョブズ氏が熱心に買い集めていたのが新版画と呼ばれる日本の美術品です。そのリストを NHK が入手しました。
We see at Apple, one of the things we've always felt is that we want to stand at the intersection of technology and humanities. Can we help you express yourself in richer ways? In your music, in your movies, in your photography, and these kinds of things that people want to do.
Yes.
ジョブズ氏がなぜ新版画にのめり込んでいったのか、取材を進めると原点ともいえる新たな事実が見えてきました。ビル・フェルナンデスさんです。ジョブズ氏とは10代からの親友でした。
So, this is the Shinhanga by Hasui Kawase that was his wedding gift, a very thoughtful gift. Because I also love Shinhanga.
中高生の時、フェルナンデスさんの家でよく過ごしていたというジョブズ氏。その時のことを母親はよく覚えていました。
He and his friends would go in there and experiment with their electronics.
日本美術を学んだ母親の影響で何枚もの新版画で埋め尽くされていた部屋。この環境がその後のジョブズ氏に影響を与えたといいます。
He liked that a lot. It became very attractive to him. You could see his love of simplicity and elegance throughout his life, like in the products that, he developed at Apple.
余計なものを見極めて削ぎ落とすことで本質を見つける。これ何か私たちもさまざまな課題に立ち向かうときに参考になるアプローチ方法だと改めて感じますね。
According to the testimony of Jobs' middle school and high school friend Bill Fernandez, Jobs encountered Japanese shinhanga at Fernandez's home and was deeply fascinated by its simplicity and elegance. On the other hand, he was very harsh in his criticism of Japanese businessmen, saying Japanese people were rushing to the shore like dead fish. It's like dead fish filling their shore. This dual nature of Japanese people is one that we also agree. Why? This is a photo from the Kawase Hasui exhibition held at the Shinjuku Sompo Museum in 2021. At the exit of the venue, the history of Jobs and Apple, which I edited, was on display as reference materials. In July 2023, NHK ran a special feature called Japan, the Origin of Steve Jobs' Idea. It is said that the simplicity and elegance cultivated by us Japanese was origin of Apple's product. So why haven't we Japanese people valued this?
続いてはこちら。マッキントッシュから iPhone まで革新的な製品を次々と世界に送り出したアップルの創業者、スティーブ・ジョブズについてです。画面右上の QR コードからウェブ記事もご覧いただけます。
ジョブズが生み出した製品の最大の特徴といいますのはシンプルで美しいデザインなんですけれども、その発想の原点について自らが多く語ることはありませんでした。しかしジョブズを間近で見てきた人たちを取材してみますと、 彼の美意識というのは日本の文化と深い関係があることが分かってきました。
ジョブズの少年時代の親友、ビル・フェルナンデスさんです。2人は14歳の時に出会い、サンフランシスコの郊外にあるフェルナンデスさんの家で電子部品を組み立てる遊びに熱中していました。
Steve Jobs came into the school, and he was very similar. We were both very smart, very intellectual, not very socially competent.
その家でジョブズは初めて日本の文化と出会いました。大学で日本の美術を学んだフェルナンデスさんの母親は日本の美術品を家中の壁にかけていました。ジョブズが遊びに来るたびにじっと見ていたのがリビングにあった新版画でした。新版画は明治から昭和にかけて作られた木版画です。日本ならではのシンプルな構図に複雑な色彩が加えられていることなどが特徴です。フェルナンデスさんはこの新版画こそジョブズの美意識の原点だと言います。
Our house was a catalyst for Steve Jobs' development of his aesthetic sense. A big part of that was the Shinhanga, because that's what you see. I think that was the beginning where he said, I like this. I like simple. I like clean. I like natural wood. I like this style of art. I like this aesthetic, this sensibility.
ジョブズはその後、日本の文化への興味をさらに広げていきました。アップルの元 CEO、ジョン・スカリーさん。ビジネスの場だけでなく、プライベートな時間も共に過ごしました。ジョブズは日本に行くと、忙しい中でも大好きな京都まで足を伸ばし、旅館で過ごす時間を楽しんでいました。心を惹かれていたのが焼き物でした。
It was a very quiet experience watching Steve Jobs touch a Japanese ceramic, hold it in his hands, feel the texture of the surface, question slowly and saying, so where did the clay come to make this? What was the artisan thinking? Had he done things like this before? He was very inquisitive about what the process was, what motivated the artisan to do this.
ジョブズは焼き物を求めてさまざまな場所を訪ねました。日本の焼き物についての著書もある美術商のロバート・ヤリンさんはジョブズに頼まれて案内しました。ジョブズが最も気に入ったのが人がしゃがんだ姿に似ているうずくまると名付けられた信楽焼の壺でした。
He was very interested in these, and he would take it and turn it and kind of rub the shoulder a bit, see how it felt, the curve. So he goes, yeah, I want my products to have that smooth shoulder feel. So I think he got a lot of hint from looking at these old jars.
1998年、ジョブズは世界的な大ヒットを生み出します。iMac です。四角い箱のような形が主流だったコンピューターに思わず手に取りたくなるような丸みのあるデザインを取り入れました。その親しみやすいデザインはその後の iPhone などに受け継がれていきました。
Steve was thinking about how do you take things that the Japanese culture has developed in a way that it could go into commercial products, creating a certain kind of product, and whether it was a print or whether it was a ceramic, and he just had so much respect for that. And what he wanted to do as a business leader was to commercialize those ideas.
Yeah. So Okay. Hi, Dan-san. Please give us your comments.
I had a couple comments while I was watching that. When Steve bought his first house in 1980, the only art he had in that house was Maxfield Parrish paintings. Maxfield Parrish was an Art Nouveau painter that was very beautiful. And I never heard where he got those from. He must have met a dealer that he liked, but he had several of them and they were very valuable. That was before he was buying Shinhanga. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
The other thought I had is that going back to the 70s, Steve was a huge fan of Sony products.
Yeah.
He idolized Akio Morita.
Yes.
And he met with Akio Morita. And who knows if Akio Morita was talking about Shinhanga. I don't know.
Oh, it's
but, and you know what's interesting is that when the iPod was first presented to Steve, didn't like that idea. It was not his idea. It was Tony Fidel's idea. Tony Fidel presented the idea to Steve, and Steve probably said, "That's ridiculous." But then, of course, a week or two later, Steve said, "I've been thinking, that could be a really good idea." And I guarantee you, the idea of the iPod comes directly from the Sony Walkman.
Yes.
Steve had a Sony Walkman.
Yeah.
I had a Walkman Pro. I was doing recordings on it. Those were great products.
Yeah.
That's my comment about that.
All right, thank you. Nobi-san, how do you think his about Dan-san comments?
Well, I don't have much comment to say, but I have a question to Dan. Which would be the first Sony product Steve got? Do you know which was the first Sony product he had?
The first one I remember, Steve didn't have a stereo particularly. I had the stereo when I lived with him. It was probably the Walkman, which I think came out 1978 or 79. That was very early.
Yeah, well, anyway, I interviewed Ando-san, who used to be the president of Sony, and he said Morita-san liked Steve Jobs and Michael Jackson evenly. So to Morita-san, both Steve Jobs and Michael Jackson were like his sons, and I don't know if the three met each other at the same time, but anyway, so Morita-san was sort of like mentor to Steve and taught so many things. Particularly, I heard Steve was very interested in the automated manufacturing of the Sony factory, and it's not just Sony, but I heard Steve also visited factory of do you know Alps? ALPS?
Alps, yeah. No.
So Alps made the keyboard
Alps.
and
ALPS.
Yeah. They made the original floppy disk for the disk 2.
Yes.
Yeah. And and I actually I heard from people at Alps, saying Steve was very kind to them, because Steve asked so much, sometimes he wanted to give back to those people, factory workers at Alps, and he back then in Japan there was a governmental project called Daigo Serai computer, 5th generation computer, and the factory worker was asking, what is the 5th generation computer, and maybe Steve had no idea, so he did the same wheels for mind, the bicycle metaphor, and yeah, the people at Alps enjoyed it. Anyway, yeah, that's all the comment I would say. maybe show some.
Good.
Show some
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jobs is the one very exciting to the Sony Walkman. Yeah. Anytime, if you have an interview to I'm shooting to and my camera is Leica, very interesting to interviews. Oh no, what kind of using a lens? Why using your like? Maybe Jobs is most like the machine. And then just one episode is a iPod, dancer iPod, right? iPod is a change the Walkman. So first thing to iPod is a very small started company in Boston. So they are talk about to Japanese big company. Name of the I don't know, but P or S, you know.
POS.
And then using to a hard disk.
Yeah.
And then but in Japanese companies, no, because drop down is a crash.
Oh.
Is the no way.
Yeah.
But any kind of the Japanese company invited them, no invite. But last one is they contacted the Jobs. Jobs, oh good. This is the next Walkman. But this is a program. Hard disk dropped in the is crash. There's so many trouble. Jobs said, "Oh, okay. We have two more, so many make to a product. If you crash the down, new material to change. Image is very good.
Yeah.
Successful, and because first iPod is a hard disk in maybe 40 gigabyte, but and then they said, be careful, drop to is crash. Be careful. They are so more very treasure machine. Yeah. And then iPod is exciting, but right now, Don-san, iPod is gone. Is everything iPhone inside.
Well, the first iPod, inside iPod, Toshiba.
Yeah.
So Japanese company has a chance.
Yes.
iPod.
Actually, Toshiba had, iPod follow-up, that looks like iPod, but, it never succeeded. And the interesting story is even the PR, who was in charge of presenting the Toshiba version of iPod was using Apple's iPod. So, yeah.
Really?
But, yeah, I think so. Jobs is a dynamic businessman, very dynamic.
If I may share one interesting story about Sony. I heard from Ando-san that there's a contribution to Sony camera by Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs often made phone call to Sony, saying, "I'm in Japan right now. Can I visit?"
Yeah.
And he often made those visits to Sony. And one day he came and asked Ando-san, "Show me your latest camera." And looking at the latest Sony camera, he said, "I think you should put GPS inside the camera."
Oh. And
Ando-san, took the advice. So the reason, Sony came out with the first GPS camera, built-in camera with built-in GPS, but that was actually Steve's idea, not Sony. At least that's what Ando-san told me.
Yeah. So the job is the idea man.
Idea man, yes.
Since we're talking about cameras, the analogous camera to the iPod would be the GoPro.
True, yeah.
And Steve did not think about the great GoPro. Some other guy created the GoPro, but it was a similar thing. Very, very successful product, small, reliable.
And also sort of redefine the, the use of camera. So yeah, I think Steve, is so good at redefining things, or reframing.
Yeah.
Why do you think, he was like that?
Well, that's creativity. Steve was very creative. And, to Steve's credit, he never wanted to spend his time so much on the details of engineering. He wanted to rise to the top level and think about the whole product and the appeal to the customer, the kind of thing that engineers don't really think about.
Yeah. So instead of reinventing the wheel, he sort of redefined the wheel and make new value on it.
Yes.
Right.
So the news this week, yesterday, is Johnny Ive, the design genius from Apple, is partnering with SoftBank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See that story?
Yes,
Call it
I know.
the iPhone
Yes.
of AI.
Yeah.
Of AI. I guarantee you, the people at Apple
Uh-huh.
are reading that news, going, "Oh, we better get on this."
Yeah.
And actually, similarly, Tony Fadell, who proposed the iPod and the iPhone to Steve, Tony is working on a crypto wallet that's a handheld hardware device, kind of the iPhone of crypto.
Wow.
And it's a French company. I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah. So, Danson, please show us a beta version Macintosh you have. Macintosh? No?
I happen to have. Okay, this is the first prototype of the final production version of the Macintosh.
Wow.
Did I build this by hand? No, I don't think I did. But this one says, this says 1982. It wasn't introduced till 1984. So no, it's not. But this is very close to the final version. I can't even tell you what changed in 1983. There were 12 different versions of the Macintosh. And that was my main job. I was partly a designer, but I was the one person who built every single version and got it to work.
Great.
No, it was a whole team effort. Anyway, great product.
Yeah.
Actually, I briefly mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
Here, wait. Since we got ahead of ourselves, here's the Apple One. I build replicas of the Apple One.
But Danson, you were not engineer. You learned to build board in Apple.
I started as a technician. Actually, I started as an assembler with a screwdriver. But I very quickly was good at fixing the Apple II.
Wow.
And I was the chief technician.
Wow.
And then, so since you showed clips of Bill Fernandez, I don't think Bill would be embarrassed if I say that when Bill found out he would not get a stock option, Bill was not an engineer either. He was a technician, getting paid by the hour. And when he found out he was not going to get a stock option, he said, "I'm out of here." And he went to Japan and taught English. True story. And because he left, I got to take his job as the technician for the engineering lab. And that's when I started really learning how to design things.
Great.
Dan-san, you make to a Macintosh Museum.
What's that?
You make to a Macintosh Museum. Your Dan-san.
You should make a museum.
Museum.
Look what I just found today.
Oh,
I'm gonna hold this up for you. I was gonna make it on my background, but it didn't quite fit. That is the original.
Yeah, the original.
Wow.
That's the original Macintosh logo.
Wow.
Yeah. By the French designer, wasn't it?
Yes.
I forgot his name.
Yeah, I forgot his name too.
Wow.
Steve Jobs paid that guy a lot of Falon, F-O-L-O-N.
Oh.
Yeah, Salon. Yeah, that's right.
So that was going to be the logo for the Macintosh. It was the Mac Man.
Oh.
Say.
What is interesting? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it just says Macintosh.
Yeah.
Very creative. I found this in my poster collection.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, actually, Macman, he tried to name the original iMac Macman as well.
Really?
Yeah. So after Ken Siegel, the copywriter for Think Different campaign, he was the one who named iMac. But he presented like 10 ideas to Steve Jobs, and one of them was iMac. But Steve Jobs didn't like the name iMac, and he was suggesting, the suggestion Steve had, to Ken Siegel was, Macman, because naming it after Sonny Walkman, of course. But I'm really appreciative of Ken Siegel, banning Steve's plan, for Mac.
I never heard that story.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you don't know Ken Siegel?
No.
The copywriter? No. Well, he's a very interesting guy too. So he had a book. I forgot the original name, but the Japanese. I wrote the foreword for the Japanese edition of his book. In Japanese, it's titled Think Simple, but yeah, it's an interesting book to read. So he did. He wrote all the words for the Think Different campaign, but there was only one line that Steve wrote himself, which is that part which says, the crazy people push the human race forward, and that line was by Steve Jobs, but all the other lines was by Ken Siegel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Has Ken Siegel written a book?
Yeah, he did. I will do the English name.
I will look it up.
Okay.
Anyway, the iMac was hugely successful. And when Steve came back to Apple, it was a very scary time for Apple.
Yeah.
And it really showed that Steve had matured a lot.
Yeah.
And learned to focus. And I forget the name of the engineer who told me the story, but when Steve came back, he went through every department, looking at everything that was in progress to decide what to end and what to keep, because there was no extra money for they had to focus on the core 4 products.
Yeah.
And what Steve used to say at the group meetings is, we have got to really focus, and anyone who is not really on board with what we're going to do, you can leave now. And people were getting up and walking out of the room. I love that story.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Audience, please come in, and if you have some questions, please ask Dan-san or Nobi-san or Sho-san. Please come in, all the audience. Come in.
Think simple.
Think simple, yeah.
How about Togawa-san? なんか誰も入ってこないですね。
そうですね。
Well, how do you think about this session? And we talked about Japanese culture and then influenced and Apple products. How about your comments, Nobi-san?
I didn't catch the question.
Yeah. Today's main theme is Japanese
Steve
culture.
Jobs. Oh yeah, and Steve.
And maybe you have it very interesting in this theme, maybe, don't you? So please give us your comments on this theme.
Yeah, I think Steve sort of picked the best part of Japanese culture, and and I really wish the Japanese entrepreneur could do the same, because back in 2001 or two, after iPod came out, I was writing Apple is the new Sony, sort of. So Steve learned so much from Sony, like automation, factory automation, and also well, Steve wasn't successful making uniform for Apple employees, but he sort of imitated so many part of Sony, and he made a better version of Sony inside Apple. But somehow along the way, Sony was sort of Americanized in a way, making too big, and they started following like quarterly revenue, or they become too economical, and they failed. So I hope now is the best time for Japanese corporations to learn what Steve learned from Japanese corporation like Sony and Apple, and do the same.
I think so.
So that's my comment.
Kohira-san, shows. How about?
Hi, thank you.
Today you're going to the age show. Yeah.
So there, don't worry in Japanese split in the product. Still going. And then, so Jobs is very good hint, Japanese Zen or Japanese nature or Japanese, country is very wonderful country. So of course, product DNA is still going. Don't worry. There are more good idea or in the world targeting to make to another material. Please. And then Jobs is, I think that's for he's artist. And then I have so many interviews to because they are businessman or technology engineer, but Jobs is artist. But so good. His mind is a very good, simple mind. Also, very good mindset is his anytime mindset. And then sometimes good, sometimes no good, but he's changed the mindset thing. So we need to Jobs mindset split right now. I think so. But I'm so happy to together to talk about it. And then I'm lucky. Thank you so much, Dan.
Dan-san,
Dan-san, thank you.
I just had a good idea.
Okay.
When Apple announces its large language model AI, so it's supposedly going to be focused on health in particular.
Yeah.
That's what they said. I think when you ask it a question, sometimes it should answer, well, that's very complicated. Let's pause for Zazen for a moment. That would be very funny.
Yeah.
Let's have a moment of Zazen.
Yeah, that's right. Good idea. Yeah.
They have mindfulness on this.
Oh, yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
But so since today is, the day to commemorate Steve Jobs, what's the best memory you have with Steve?
Yeah.
The best memory?
Yes.
Wow. No one's ever, I don't remember answering that question before. Let's see. Well, we had many fun times going to the Hare Krishna temple, and the image of Steve chanting Hare Krishna and tinkling the little bells always amuses me, because he did that. He totally did that. And when we traveled in India, it was often difficult. It was so hot. But we never had any kind of argument at all. He was really a wonderful traveling partner. So if I look back over the broad range, I had a really wonderful time traveling with him, and it was his idea to go. So I was grateful.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, about late 5 minutes. どなたでも日本語でもいいので質問してみ方結構ですよ。どうでしょうか。いませんか。なんかみんなが英語で喋ってるから敷居が高いって書いてある。Okay. So anyway, today as a memory day of Steve Jobs' death, but he influenced us so much, and I think, I hope we ancestors his ideas and advance revolution to continue. Anyway, so you are all busy, so this time we'll end this Global Digicon Salon. どうもありがとうございました。それではね、2人ともまた次の仕事があるということなので、頑張ってください。Danson, please challenge new venture. Thank you. Yeah, you're trying
look forward to your new venture with AI.
Please.
Are you asking a question?
Yeah, no. I said that you please try your best to your new venture. Okay.
Well, on that topic, I'll just say that the large language models that surprised everyone so much.
Yeah.
And OpenAI was the first, but then there's Anthropic and Microsoft owns half of OpenAI. So Microsoft gets a lot of credit, but they weren't writing the algorithms. It was OpenAI. And until GPT-2 was not that impressive. It was GPT-3 that was 10 times bigger, that all of a sudden it was really interesting. And now there's GPT-4, and now they're building GPT-5. And those are hundreds of millions of dollars project. But the analogy to make is that that's the way mainframe computers were. At the time when Woz built the Apple I, the big computers from IBM cost maybe not 100 million, but 50 million.
Yeah.
And so you can see that for years to come, they are going to be taking this new creation of large language model and shrinking it down, until it's a personal AI.
Wow.
That is absolutely going to happen.
Yes.
It'll take years.
Yeah.
Steve, I bet I haven't heard Woz's comments in recent months, but I am completely certain he's very enthusiastic about what's been happening.
翔さん、それ何ですか？
それ今ね、チャット GTP で聞いたんですよ。
はい。
He just asked some question prompt to ChatGPT.
読めます？読めない。
I can read, but it's in Japanese, so maybe Dan can't. But
so 読めないですかね？大丈夫？見れないか？
ダンさんわかんないとにかく。
そうか。いや、そういう時代になったなと。
If Jobs are alive now, ChatGPT answered the question in Japanese.
But one thing I'm really concerned is, since the influence, is much bigger, the influence of AI, to our lives, it's so much bigger than even the smartphones. I think, somebody with good intention needs to, make sort of the basic rules. And I don't see anyone in the Bay Area or Silicon Valley, has that, talent. As I shared the story that the only one line Steve Jobs wrote about on the Think Different campaign is they push the human race forward, but nobody thinks about the entire human race in Silicon Valley. They're all after money, after all. And I really wish, do you see any talent in the Bay Area or anywhere else, with good intention for the future?
No, I would disagree. Jeff Hinton, who wrote the papers, Jeff Hinton is retired from making products, and he says he's very concerned about ethics and teaching ethics to the AI. And then if you look at Sam Altman, it is completely unprecedented for a tech CEO to go to Congress and say, please regulate us. That never happens. That's what he did. He said, this is a very powerful tool. We only want the best for humanity, so we need ethical rules, which is very encouraging. Very encouraging. I also watched a number of videos by Amadei of Anthropic. He's he used to work at OpenAI, and he is of the same mindset. He wants good ethical rules for the AIs that they're creating.
So now the time to end. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dan-san, thank you very much. Nobi-san, thank you. And Sho-san, thank you.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye.
Thank you, Toshi. I enjoyed this.
Bye-bye.